Gamers, Lightfall's launch is just a few days away, and I know that everybody's ready for its release, right? Right? Wait, you didn't prep? Well, no worries, I've got you covered. Even with just a couple of days, you can pretty much get everything you need to prep for the new expansion. Now, I know this is not the first prep guide you've ever seen. Again, this is a last-minute guide, but those other videos have a couple of fatal flaws. First of all, many of those were made months ago and weeks ago before Bungie even announced the multitude of changes coming to Lightfall. And second, and most importantly, they all assume that you are where the creator is in terms of playing Destiny. Many content creators are far ahead of many people who don't have the time to play the game like a job. Instead, I've solved this by organizing this guide for you. Anybody who's watching this video. This means you could be a Destiny beginner or a grizzled vet who's been playing since the beta of Destiny 1. I've set up multiple options for everyone so that anybody can get prepped for the launch of Lightfall in as little as a few days. There's no time to waste, so we're going to get into every detail that you need to know, including the things that other prep guides have missed. To keep things organized, we're breaking this guide into 3 different sections. Stuff that's expiring soon, the stuff we need to stockpile, and the stuff that we need to gear up and gear down. Here's what's expiring soon. These are the things leaving the game immediately when Lightfall hits. As I said in the start, this guide is for everyone, so that means you need to make choices about what I lay out in terms of options to best fit what you want to focus on. First up, the seasonal weapons. There are a lot of seasonal weapons from the past year, so it's critical to separate the wheat from the chaff and focus on only getting the best of the best. You won't be able to craft these weapons in the future if you don't have the weapon patterns for them, so we have to take that into consideration as well. For beginners, if you haven't started yet, that's okay. You see, Bungie is currently allowing folks to get a red bar weapon every day from the seasonal vendors. That means that at the making of this video, you have a few days to get a red bar every single day at reset. Now note that Destiny is going offline on Monday, February 27th at reset, so you won't be able to pick up anything on that day. This is pretty standard for new expansions in Destiny, but unfortunately lots of players don't know about the offline day, but now you do. So, choose the weapons you want to have or the pattern that you want to get. For beginning players, here are the multitude of weapons that I would consider crafting. Choose one. From Season of the Risen, Peace of Mind, the Pulse Rifle, the Explosive Personality Grenade Launcher. From Season of the Haunted, the Callus Mini Tool, SMG, or the Bump in the Night Rocket Launcher. From Season of the Plunder, this Sail Spy Pitch Glass Linear Fusion Rifle, or the Tarnished Metal Scout Rifle. From Season of the Seraph, the Ikelos SMG, the Disparity Pulse, or the Retrofit Escapade Machine Gun. Before someone roasts me in the comments about my choices, I chose these weapons because A, they're the strongest weapons in the sandbox right now, even after all the changes and nerfs coming to Lightfall. They are the most unique guns with the most unique and useful perks, and also that there are a ton of other options for different weapons that I didn't select. You can basically get all those other weapons that I didn't mention in some form in a different spot in the game. All right, down to the nitty gritty. If I had only one weapon to craft, it would definitely be the Ikelos SMG, hands down. Volt Shot to me is a fantastic perk for PvE, and the PvP potential of the SMG is already off the charts already this season. It's, if not the best weapon in Destiny, it's at least the best SMG, at least in the legendary rarity. After the Ikelos SMG, I'd maybe go for the Callus Mini Tool SMG, but after that, it's just pure preference to you. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't go pick up normal rolls of the different weapons after that. If you want to attempt to get more patterns as a new player, you can always try to farm patterns through the seasonal content, but it will take quite a bit of time. You'll need the corresponding season materials to pick up the chests at the end of the activities as well, so take that into consideration. If you do want to invest time into doing this, which you don't necessarily have to, here is how you would do it. For the Seraph weapons, do the Heist Battlegrounds activities and open the Seraph chest at the end. You also can earn those weapons randomly from the season from completing some different activities like PvP and Trials. For the Ikelos weapons, combine the override frequencies with the enhanced resonance amp and then look for the Rasputin nodes hidden around the world. For the Season of Plunder weapons, do the 2 plunder activities, Catch Crash or Expeditions. I personally cannot stand the Expedition missions, so I recommend Catch Crash and the Master version if you're high enough power level for it. Honestly, the plunder weapons to me aren't as strong, with the exception of the Scout and Linear Fusion, so this is quite an investment of time. Maybe choose to focus on some different weapons. For Season of the Haunted, literally just run around and look for the chests throughout the Haunted Leviathan. There are a bajillion guides on how to do it, and frankly, it's a heck of a lot easier than just doing the haunted activity. The haunted activity is great if you want to get the bump in the night rocket launcher though, so take that into consideration. But lastly, for Season of the Risen, just do the Psyops Battleground activity, Legend if you can take it. Returning players, I'd focus on crafting every weapon I mentioned specifically and then getting your favorite rolls of your other weapons. If you need those weapons from the different seasons, just do the activities I mentioned in the section before this. Destiny vets, this is going to be wild, but if I were you, I would make sure to have every pattern for every seasonal weapon from the past year. Don't go crafting and leveling every single one, you just need to have the pattern. But if you have the time and the mats, craft the ones that you want to have and just leave them at level 1. The meta may shift quite a bit when Lightfall comes, but it's always just nice to have those in your back pocket. Now vets, obviously with just a few days left, you should have been doing this from day 1 of Witch Queen. If you haven't, just get what weapons you think you may enjoy and stick them in your vault. This method is only needed for the seasonal weapons. The weapons that are staying are going to be the weapons from Witch Queen's expansion, the raids like Vow of the Disciple and King's Fall, Deepstone Crypt, all that stuff is going to stick around, so you don't have to focus on getting those red bars this week. Take your time, do something different. Now let's talk about 2 weapons that you definitely want to get your hands on before the next expansion hits, and those are the exotic missions tied to the previous seasons. For those exotic weapons, you have access to the Dead Messenger from Vox Obscura and the Revision Zero Pulse Rifle from Seraph Shield. For new players, just getting those weapons will probably be a challenge, as the missions aren't super easy, especially if you're a solo player, but it is doable. I have a guide for soloing both missions on the channel, so make sure to check them out. For returning players, getting those exotics shouldn't be too bad, and if you can get in a fire team, that will be even easier. Just make sure that you get the catalyst for Dead Messenger. Vox Obscura on the master difficulty is not too hard right now, especially if you've been keeping your power level up. And then try to shape Revision Zero as much as you can with the different catalysts. If you're a Destiny vet, get all the catalysts, get them all done, and that shouldn't be too tough for you. Luckily, Revision Zero is not time gated. It originally was when it released throughout the season of the Seraph, but you should be able to get all of those catalyst progression done as long as you continue to do the exotic quest and get those different triumphs taken care of. While Revision is cool in PvP, it's not a must-have in PvE content, so if you can't get this, just skip it and focus on getting something different that will help you in Lightfall. In addition to the seasonal weapons, all the seasonal quests and seasonal currencies will also be leaving. This means that any seals or triumphs or quests that you want to get done should be a priority. Now, if you're a beginning player, getting a seal or a lot of triumphs done is a pretty large task, but it's not impossible. Just try to focus on one seal. I'd really recommend getting the Season of the Seraph seal done. The content is up to date, nothing's time gated anymore at this point, and many of those triumph completions will aid you in your hunt for the seasonal weapons I mentioned earlier. For returning players, this is where you can kind of pick and choose what you want to do. Scallywag as a seal is very time intensive, even with the changes that they made to the Ruffian's Triumph, so I might skip Season of the Plunder. Season of the Haunted and Season of the Risen are probably more attainable at this point, along with Season of the Seraph. Both of these seasons and the triumphs have some really good weapons connected to them, but they will take more time if you want to try and get both seals. For vets, this is a great opportunity for you to clean up any of the triumphs you want to complete. A great resource to point you to is braytech.org. From there, you can see all of your triumphs and accolades at a glance, which is super helpful in figuring out what you want to do. The last thing leaving with the launch of Lightfall is the seasonal challenges and the season pass, which is chock full of great rewards that can help you prep for the next year. Not only is it full of armor, ghosts, shaders, transmats, and more, it also gives you the ability to get Bright Dust, which will help you buy cosmetics in the future. With all of these challenges unlocked currently at the end of the season, there are a ton of challenges to complete, and most come with Bright Dust as a reward. If you can get 72 of the 75 challenges done, then you can get a large pile of Bright Dust as a final seasonal reward. This will give you 4,000 Bright Dust to use once you complete it, which will be really nice when Lightfall hits. The other challenges will give you 700 or 500 Bright Dust respectively. The season pass itself also has a ton of Bright Dust rewards in it specifically, and once you complete the ranks, you can just pick it up. Note that there is a free tier of the season pass and a paid tier. So even if you are a free to try player, you can get some weapons and cosmetics from the different seasons with this. Another great thing about the season pass is that you can actually pick up gear from the previous season if you'd like. While this isn't important anymore for leveling like it used to be in the old days, you can still easily pick up anything you've earned and left behind by going to the previous season link. It's in the description box below. You'll also have to log in with your Bungie account, but then you can just go to your different characters, select those rewards, and they will be dropped onto your character. This is really good if you want another chance at some better stats for exotic weapons or even some armor or some different materials. This is also a great time to go check the vendors in the tower for extra engrams. Start either focusing the weapons that you'd like to get or just picking them up to get the legendary shards and materials. Those engrams are going to just be deleted anyway and fall into the ether, so there's no reason not to pick them up. Speaking of stocking up on things, we're at our second big section here, and that's stockpiling. These are the currency and items that you should be hoarding on your character and not spending as we get closer to Lightfall. Of course, we have to go over the low-hanging fruit that most guides go over, and that's the bounty prepping section. A lot of guides do miss some things with this, so stick with me, we'll cover everything. Even though you haven't spent a lot of time prepping every single bounty, you can still get tons of XP with only a day or two of prep. We stockpile bounties so that we stockpile XP, which does a couple of things for us. It gives us faster access to the mod slots in the artifact, especially this next season. It's going to be a passive artifact slot. There's going to be more access to the season pass rewards, which means more bright dust, more seasonal weapons, materials, usually the exotic weapon, cool armor, and more. Most importantly for me, there's less time focusing on leveling through the expansion, and you get to spend more time doing the things that you want, like searching for secrets, builds, challenges, and all of the new stuff that is coming. If you didn't know, your quests and bounties together have the same limit. They basically use the same inventory in the code of the game. You can hold 63 total quests or bounties on each character. So we need to figure out what quests we don't need and what we do need so that we have plenty of spots for our bounties. An easy way to deal with this is first by looking at your exotic quests and to see what you actually need to complete, because many of the exotic quests are character based rather than account based. You probably have multiple quests that you don't need anymore. For bounties proper, we need to figure out what we can do to get the most juice with the least squeeze, the most XP with the least amount of effort. In general, the ones that are best for this are the weekly bounties, like the Cosmodrome bounties, the Moon bounties, the Europa bounties, and a few other details. Most people know about this resource, but one of the most important tools you can use as you prep with bounties is using DestinyRecipes.com. The devs over there have built an amazing website specifically for Destiny data, especially for people wanting to do the day one raid race. They have a specific section that outlines all the bounties that are currently available in the game and which ones give you the most XP. What's great is that you get to log in with your character and your Bungie account, and they pull the data straight from the API, so you get a real-time look at how you're prepped for the next expansion. The key to bounty stockpiling is to make sure that you have just enough time to get the good bounties done. Take 20 or 30 minutes every day as a wind-down session if you're prepping for other things in Destiny. Beginners, grab the weekly bounties and get whatever exotics and quests you don't need out of your inventory. Then focus on the easy to complete big weekly bounties at Zavala, Shaxx, and the Drifter. Go to the Cosmodrome and pick up the 2 weekly bounties, as there's a lot of XP on those as well. In addition, if you're willing to use a Star Horse bounty, you can go to the Dares of Eternity and get that taken care of too. Last thing that everybody can do is go to the Dreaming City and get the Ascendant Challenge done on each of your characters this week. With this amount of effort, you can get a ton of XP with very little effort. It does not take much time to get any of those bounties completed. You just have to spend a couple of minutes focusing on the triumphs. Very easy to do. For the returning players, get those weekly Moon and Europa bounties set up and knocked out. You can knock this out in under an hour, but it does mean that your characters have to have done the campaigns for Shadowkeep and Beyond Light, which is one of the reasons I don't have it in the beginning section. But these are actually very easy bounties to do, and they do not take a lot of time to knock out. For our Destiny vets, you've probably been prepping for a while, and you want to min-max the highest XP bounties that you can, regardless of their source. And you've probably been doing it for a while, but here's what I recommend to actually have the best XP gains when you come into the Lightfall. The big heavy-hitting 12,000 XP bounties are the weekly clan bounties, the weekly Cosmodrome, the weekly Europa, the weekly Nightmare, the weekly Eris bounties on the moon, and the weekly Dares of Eternity. After that, you want to have 7 each of the other bounties from the Vanguard, Crucible, Gambit, and the Gunsmith. You do not want 8 because for some reason, if you pick up 8, it can screw up your powerful drop that you receive from those vendors. So only pick up 6 or 7 and you will be fine. After that, focus on planet daily bounties like from Nessus, the EDZ, Cosmodrome, Moon, or Europa. Do not save any seasonal bounties or anything else like that right now. You should be saving anything that is going to stick in the game past the launch of Lightfall. Now, while your character can hold 63 bounties, you should really only hold 60. The reason for this is when the new expansion and season launches, usually you have to pick up some quests to start everything off. When Lightfall launches, I'll be doing a guide on how to maximize your XP gains and what to do first, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel and turn on the bell so you don't miss out when I launch that video. Next up, materials and inventory like legendary shards, enhancement cores, and ascendant shards. Those things are invaluable to get a head start on the new expansion. Now, your inventory might be clogged with a bunch of stuff that you don't need anymore. Get rid of any of the garbage or the stuff that can be deleted. Bungie has done a good job of laying out what you can delete from things in the inventory. It just says it in the description. In addition, if you're not farming for any more weapons from the seasonal content, you can delete anything decrypted related to that to free up space. Let's talk materials now and the extra tricks to keep them around. The oldest trick in the book is by using our postmaster for extra storage. But there's actually a few more tricks that you can use to store even more. But let's start with the basics. Fill up your character with the inventory of those things you primarily use. So that's 10 Ascendant Shards if you can, 50 Enhancement Prisms, 25 Upgrade Modules, 10 Ascendant Alloy. If you don't have those things, it's not the end of the world. Just get as many as you can. Then, of course, the trick is by having everything maxed on your character, everything then goes to your postmaster. Here's a warning: if you do use your postmaster for hoarding materials, if it gets too full with other gear, it will delete your oldest gear and materials first. So you constantly want to be checking your postmaster. Here's the trick that many do not know about, especially for those people who are farming the Nightfall this week and have extra enhancement prisms and ascendant shards. When you dismantle a piece of armor, it will drop materials back to you, depending on its level. So for example, if I level up my gear to level 10, I'll get 4 enhancement prisms and 6 enhancement cores back. The most economical way to do this is to level up any armor that you don't want to level 9, then store it in your vault and keep it until the next expansion. When you need some of those materials, just delete that unwanted armor and boom, free enhancement prisms. Not only will this give us more shards, but also the gunsmith has a new source of reputation, and when you dismantle items, whether it's armor or guns, it helps to level him up. I have not been in any kind of problem in terms of materials since Shadowkeep because I use this trick, and most Destiny players don't use it or know about it. So now you do. Keep that stuff unlocked and you'll be set with materials. So now the third and final section, gearing up and gearing down. We got to talk about what weapons you're going to keep and what weapons you're going to toss, especially for those filthy vault hoarders out there. Let's figure out in general my rules. Have you used the weapons in the last 2 months? Does it have significant meaning to you or a significant kill count, especially like sunset weapons? Are they unavailable weapons or weapons that don't have a replacement? And are they your favorite? If any of these are the case, then keep them, but otherwise toss everything else. That way you have space in the vault for all the new weapons that are coming. Of course, we talked about using exotic armor and hoarding them for the easy enhancement prisms, so you have to balance that as you can. Remember that they're removing all of the weapon crafting materials except for the Ascendant Alloys in Lightfall. So if you have any stockpiled weapons that are attuned and you've got a deep sight available, just pop the deep sight, craft the weapons if you want, and toss the rest. If you have any spare planetary materials, don't worry about it. Don't worry about deleting them either, because you can actually use them for Glimmer from Rahul when the new expansion comes. For armor, generally, you want to look for armor pieces that are at least 60 plus stat rolls or higher. In general, everyone needs to spec into resilience for PvE activities and recovery for PvP. After that, it all depends on your builds or your goals with your armor. Do note that in Lightfall, Resil is going to be changed, and now it's going to take a little bit more build crafting to get that 30 to 40% damage resist. But you're going to have to use the new mod system to get the resistance you've used in the past. As I mentioned, recovery is the key to PvP because your health starts regenerating faster depending on what your recovery is. So you want to make sure that you've got some Iron Banner or Trials or whatever gear that you want to use for PvP locked and loaded with a lot of recovery. Now, I'm not going to cover too much with armor in this video, especially like quad 100 stats, but do know that if you've done any of the master dungeons and you've got Artifice armor, you're going to get an additional +3 in any of your stats based on what you want with that Artifice armor. And with that, that covers all the stuff that you need to gear up, gear down, delete the rest so you got plenty of space in your vault and you will be good to go. And that covers everything you need to know for the prep of the launch of Lightfall. In addition, if you've made it to the end of this video, a few things. The Witch Queen campaign is free until February 26th. Just go to your console or Steam store and you can pick it up and play it for free until February 26th. In addition, I'll be doing a ton of helps through the hardest master level content throughout Lightfall in raids, dungeons, and more. Come on over to twitch.tv/manodestra. Of course, if this video helped, make sure to blast the like button and give a subscription if you want to see more Destiny 2 content like build crafting, solo guides, weapon overviews, and more. Good hunting, y'all. I'll see you next time.